Hi, folks. Kira here, teen librarian for Pueblo Library. I'm at Rawlings, in case you hadn't seen me before. So it's time during the week for my book talk, and I'm just going to warn you right now, I have a headache, and it's because I need to eat. I have this weird thing where instead of feeling hungry like a normal person, I get a headache. It's weird. I did eat a granola bar, but it's still sticking around. So anyway, this week's book talk is actually about a book that the movie based upon it has just been released streaming. I don't know which streaming service is it on. Sorry. But it is Moxie. So the book came out a few years ago, but Amy Poehler bought the rights pretty immediately. And so it is just rolled out. I think it's on Netflix, but I might be making that up, so don't, accuse me of being horrible. I haven't watched it yet. I'm kind of looking forward to watching it, but I haven't. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Moxie, and hopefully you guys won't just see the movie, but you'll also check out the book because it's fun. So, written by Jennifer Mathieu. I don't know if she says it in a French way. Anyway, it's written in the first person, and it begins in high school English class with a terrible teacher who is so boring that Vivian, or Viv, our protagonist, is trying to take notes rather than fall asleep. And as this is happening, the sort of meat of what this book is about emerges pretty quickly. So he asks a question about this poem, and a new girl to the school, whose name is Lucy, raises her hand and offers her opinion. And one of the young men, it's hard to call him a young man. Anyway, one of the guys who is on the football team says to Lucy, "Make me a sandwich." And she turned around and she said, "What did you say?" And he says, not mumbling or anything, says it again, "Make me a sandwich." And all of his buddies, they all laugh at this sexist remark. I have to admit, when I first read it, I thought it was also a racist remark, because Lucy's last name is Lucy Hernandez, but I think, and it may be both, but this apparently is something that the guys at school have been saying to the young women repeatedly, sort of, "Make me a sandwich, get in the kitchen and serve me." Lucy gets really embarrassed and angry, and all the guys are laughing, and the teacher gets annoyed, but what the teacher does in response is pretty messed up. He gives the entire class extra homework. So he doesn't actually deal with the fact that, this football player who the school is all about football, right? And you may know that the sort of, I don't know if it's probably a stereotype that, in Texas is all about high school football. I've never been to Texas, so I don't know that for a fact, but that's the sort of cultural awareness thing. So anyway, the football players can do no wrong. And so, yeah, he gets away with that. They get extra homework. And Viv, our main character, can basically just roll her eyes because this is not something new. Guys get away with sexist remarks and more all the time at her school. And she's just kind of used to it. Rolling her eyes in disgust, but that's the way it is at what's the name of the school again? East Rockport High. And in addition to that, there's this super vague dress code that apparently is only for the female members of the school. It's super vague, and that ends up just shaming young women. And the whole basis for telling a young woman that her clothes are out of dress code is that what she's wearing will distract the young man. Doesn't matter what her body type is, the clothes that she's wearing are, because of her body type so that she's comfortable. No, it's all about distracting the young men, as if the men can't control themselves, right? So, in general, school is traditionally and unquestioned pretty sexist. And Viv is sick. She's sick of it. And so one day, there's a pep rally. It's a Friday, because that's when they have their football games. The behavior of some of the football players really just makes her sick. And so she doesn't go to the football game. She goes home. Her mom is at work. And so she decides to watch this documentary. Oh, before I get there, a little bit more about Viv, our narrator and our protagonist. She's tongue-in-cheek, she calls herself a nice girl. What does that mean? It means that, she does pretty well in school. She has a group of good friends. She doesn't draw attention to herself. She's not in one of the sort of like traditional cliques. She's not like a popular girl. She's not like a cheerleader. Like none of those things. She's just, solid kid who has friends who are other solid young folks. And they're nice, She lives with her mother, right next door to her Mima and grandpa. But, things are not quite as simple as that. Her mother, right after she graduated high school, got into a beat-up car that she bought by herself and drove to Washington State because she wanted to be part of the Riot Grrrl scene. So she had been like a young punk in the Riot Grrrl scene, and then why did she come back to Texas? Well, Viv's father was killed in a motorcycle accident when Viv was a very small baby. And her mom wanted to go back to school, become a nurse, and she needed help. So she moved back to Texas so that her parents could help her with the baby. And she went back to school, and now she is a nurse at an urgent care. And that part of her life is sort of in the past, So anyway, on that Friday when she comes home and she's feeling horrible and she's angry and she's pissed off, so she's watching this documentary about Bikini Kill. If you don't know Bikini Kill, they're kind of like the most famous, probably band of the Riot Grrrl scene, Riot Grrrl movement. And they are interviewing sorry, I'm remembering the name of lead singer Kathleen Hanna. And Kathleen Hanna talks about one of the things they wanted to do in the scene was to connect girls who cared about the same stuff, listened to the same music, were fighting the same fights. This was before the internet. So what did they do? They would make these sort of like cheap cassettes and sell them cheaply, and they would also make zines. And so Viv's watching this, and she goes and gets this box that her mother kept that is labeled "My Misspent Youth," and in this box are pictures of her mom from when she was a young punk Riot Grrrl, some cassettes, and also a bunch of zines. And Viv decides that she's got this feeling, like this burning inside her. And she has to do it. So she makes a zine. She makes a feminist zine called Moxie, and it's about all the sexism at high school, and it has sort of instructions for everybody who reads it and wants to, show their solidarity, to mark up their arms on this particular day with stars and hearts, right? And she goes into school. Well, so she finishes it, and because it's a Friday night, everyone's at the football game. So she rides her bike to the copy store, makes copies. The only person who knows that she's made it is the guy at the copy store, right? So on Monday morning, she gets to school super early and drops them in all the girls' bathrooms. And she's pretty excited about it, but she's also, it's interesting because she's it's sort of an emerging sense or consciousness of feminism, and even the word, like the culture she's grown up in, feminism is not used a lot. That word is not used a lot, and she doesn't quite understand it. But as the book moves on, her feminism sort of strengthens, and her confidence strengthens, and things at school start to escalate. And every time things get worse, she doesn't tell anyone that she's the one making Moxie. And at first, there's some solidarity, including the new boy who she is crushing on. He has put it on his hand and arm. And there are people who've marked themselves as solidarity, but what's interesting is they're not really her closest group of friends necessarily. They're people from like all across the school, like people she was friends with in elementary school, but who now, due to the sort of like in-school segregation or whatever, like hang out with different people, So in one case, all the guys start doing these bump and grabs, which is sort of like this hallway infantile form of sexual assault. And so that gets her angry enough to do another episode of another issue of Moxie. And then other people are using the name to do things like raise money for the girls' soccer team who hasn't had new uniforms in like 30 years or something. And so it's kind of cool, like, because it's not owned, because no one knows who wrote the original zine, people are able to use it for sort of women's power. And things escalate and escalate and escalate until someone goes to the principal and accuses the football player of rape. And the principal's like, well, look into it, then doesn't do anything. And so every time something really gets her going, she'll write another issue. And they're getting more intense, and they're getting more sort of confident and confrontational. And it's pretty amazing because she's starting this movement at her school. And watching the movement grow, and watching her grow, and watching her romance develop, and the troubles in her romance, it's just great. You love Viv reading this book, and you love a number of characters. It's interesting in its intersectionality as well. So yeah, check it out. Read it. I'm gonna watch the movie, and I've heard it's good. I heard it's not as good as the books, but that's what you always hear. It's hard to make a movie that can capture what's in a book, though I have seen some amazing adaptations. So yeah, check out Moxie. It's really fun. It's really good, and I'm super into young folks writing zines about what they care about. So check that out. Okay, so This week, it's Moxie. My voice just went weird. It's a fun book, and you should read it. So, that's the book for today, and me talking in a weird voice for no reason. As always, we miss you. We miss you. We care about you, and we are tremendously concerned that you're taking care of yourselves, and that if you need help, you're asking for help. Talk to an adult you trust. Talk to your friend who knows an adult you can trust, if you don't have an adult you can trust. Okay? I don't want to lose a single one of you. Because even though I've never met you, I love you. Okay? So, we're all going through rough stuff. I am. I've started seeing a therapist. And there's no shame in it. We're actually, the fact that we're still here means that we're strong. But we've got to, we've got to keep building our resilience and our belief that tomorrow we can get through today. Tomorrow's a new day, and there is a light at the end of this tunnel. Okay. So if you're getting scared about some of your thoughts, tell somebody. Okay. Don't keep it to yourself. It's not the kind of thing you need to or should be keeping secret. Be brave. Even if you feel like you don't care about yourself, be brave and care about yourself and tell somebody. Okay? Because people love you, even if they've never met you like me. All right. I'll see you next week, and I hope you have a good week. I hope you have some moments of joy. I'm hoping to have some moments of joy. Take care. See you later.